Enough of that. Let's move on to the Browns.
All right, guys, we'll dive into our first Browns topic. If you guys watched the Sunday night football game between the Ravens and the Bills, you saw an offensive display from both teams. And if you want to take these stats full, the Bills threw for 389 yards against the Ravens. They rushed for 108. Baltimore's defense did not record a takeaway. It did record one sack. On the flip side, the Browns did move the ball relatively well against the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Flacco threw for the 5th most passing yards of any quarterback in Week 1. So, Bull, do you think the Browns' offense, and particularly Joe Flacco, will be able to move the ball at the same relative ease they did against Cincinnati against the Ravens' defense, or do you think the Week 1 performance against Buffalo is more of an aberration than an actual indication of how good Baltimore's defensive unit is?
There's about 17 things in that question alone that I disagree with. First of all, let's start with the number one thing. What you're doing with that question is one of the biggest flaws. No offense, Mike, because we all do this at times, and certainly this is prevalent throughout the media and throughout fan base.
You're loading up the question.
I just mean the overreaction to Week 1 in the NFL is
what else do I have to go off, Bull?
What's that?
What else do you want me to go off? Their preseason numbers? You want to go back to 2024?
But there's the question, like, you're really going to compare. The Ravens gave up that yardage to the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen is if not the best quarterback in football, one of the best. You can't compare Joe Flacco to Josh Allen.
Then say no. The answer is no.
Yeah, then your answer is no.
I know that, but it's just that's all about, like, we always overreact. We, as fans, as media, we spend the 6 months of the offseason telling everybody what we think about every team in football. And then half of us change our mind based on one game in the regular season, which is crazy, when we know every year that Week 1 is the least predictable week, that things happen in Week 1 that are not indicative of what that team is going forward.
Right.
And that's it. And in the end, against the Bengals defense that is probably a little better than last year, but still not very good, even with the kicks, if they'd made those kicks, it still would have only been 20 points. I mean, it wasn't like the Browns' offense was amazing in this game. They couldn't run the ball. Yeah, they had, decent passing yard numbers. But, no, I'm not. The Browns' offense is not magically fixed now.
So your answer is no.
My answer is no.
In fairness to Mike, I see what Mike's saying.
Oh, no fairness to Mike. I'm busting his balls.
I mean,
I'm busting his balls, and that's part of this show.
I get it, and that's fine, Bull, but Mike has to produce a 2-hour show, and we can only go off what we have. We can't. We're not at Week 8. We're not. If we did, then we could say, well, remember back in Week 4.
Yeah.
But we don't have that. So I do think it's a fair question. I think it was a loaded question.
Oh, it's definitely loaded.
So that's a different story. But sometimes that's what we do in the media. It's also a double-barreled question. That's fine. Here's the thing. I think that Baltimore's defense does have some vulnerabilities. And I think that now can Flacco take advantage of those like Josh Allen did? I don't think so. So my answer is mostly no too. But I'm not going to be surprised if they put up 17 points. I'm not.
But that's not good.
No, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Especially when the Ravens offense, even though they're going up against a much better defense this week, is more likely than not to put up 17 points.
Are you sure the Browns are a much better defense than Buffalo?
I said most likely.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's all I can go on. Again, we don't know. There's a very limited amount of hay in the barn.
Yes.
So you don't know what the harvest is going to look like at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Because we just don't have enough hay. We don't have enough sample.
That's right.
We'll begin to find out each of the next 5 weeks. Because
like
these are all
Tyvus's hair.
playoff caliber teams. So, yeah, right. So we're going to see. But I don't think they're going to completely shut this Browns offense down. I don't. I think there are vulnerabilities. And I trust that Kevin Stefanski will find them and match the skill set that Joe Flacco has to take advantage of that. I think we're seeing today's NFL and the passing game, and we've seen this coming for a long time. It's no longer the long looks downfield. Everything is short and underneath. I feel really well positioned right now that we have 2+ tight ends. I think the Browns have 2+ tight ends on their team. That might be more important than the fact that they don't really have a plus wide receiver. I don't count Jerry Jeudy as a plus wide receiver. I just don't.
I don't know how you.
I know you'll disagree with that, but last year he led the league in drops, and he had a critical drop on Sunday. I can't put him in the plus wide receiver category.
I love Harold Fadden, but he's played one game.
Right. Again,
and you're going to put him as a plus. Jerry Jeudy had 1,200 yards last year.
Here's why. It's all I've seen of him.
I know.
But
That's
what
not
I've
fair,
seen
though.
of him, not just this one game, but last year in college, what I've seen of him, I made a bold statement on Monday. My wife even thought I was nuts.
That's true.
When I said, I think this guy, if he has a long career and stays healthy, I think he's going to exceed Ozzie Newsome's numbers. Now, there's two things to that. When you look back at Ozzie Newsome's numbers today, they're not eye-popping.
Right.
Because the tight end was used in a different way. It was he and Kellen Winslow. That was it. But he was very, very productive and elite as a tight end in that era. Put him in today's era, he'd be 5th or 6th most productive each season. I see a guy that can eclipse that. And I think Njoku with Flacco has proven to be a plus tight end. So I think those two pieces with Joe Flacco, provided they stay healthy, I think they're going to be better than everybody thinks on offense this year, particularly, and another big if, Judkins comes back and produces.
So this week, I think the Browns will have a chance to move the football. The Ravens secondary, to me, is not that impressive. Their defense they're talented across the board. They've got talent, but I'm more concerned about their front seven. I think they'll be able to take some shots down the field. Kyle Hamilton's a hell of a player. Like he made a bunch of plays in that game against Buffalo. He's like the lone bright spot for that Ravens defense. But I think that Baltimore is probably going to be looking themselves in the mirror this week. This is what scares me a little bit is that Baltimore just got their doors blown off, giving up 41 points.
The wake-up call.
Yeah, and they had some moments in the game where they showed flashes, but overall, just not good enough. They dropped interceptions. They had opportunities. They had a point in the game where they had a couple of 3-and-outs and all that, but that was about it. And then Josh Allen could do whatever he wants. The problem I have with the Browns is that Joe Flacco can't move. And so Josh Allen presented so many different challenges for that defense with his ability to keep the chains moving. That is not going to be the case for the Browns this week. So I think there'll be opportunities, there'll be spots. If the Browns can just keep it close, man, I think they'll have a chance to spread. I think it's 12.5, 13 points, depending on where you look.
Went down to 11, I saw.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then that's probably giving the Browns a little bit more credit after the overreaction to Week 1.
Yep.
But I'm with you, Adam. I mean, listen, it's hard because we overreact to everything we see. And that game was Sunday Night Football. It was a primetime game. The Browns, we know their defense did amazing things, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very interesting game. And look, at the end of the day, we're not going to still know what the Browns are going to be this season after this game this weekend. But I just hope that they can keep it close. And I'm with Jay a little bit, too. I think that the offense will be better than people think this year.
If they're close in this game, that'll be now 2 games.
Right.
Unlike
divisional opponents, too.
Right. And unlike the Bengals, who just, for whatever reason, don't play well against the Browns and for whatever reason don't play well in Week 1, the Ravens don't have that issue. The Ravens, you're usually cooking right off the bat. So, and obviously their offense was fantastic last week. Because they scored, what was the final score, 41-40?
Yeah.
So,
that's the only game in NFL history that's ended with that score. I can't believe
so
it.
weird.
One thing real quickly, I know you're fired up and ready to go. I'm fired up about this and forgot to mention it. What in the hell is Baltimore doing celebrating their 30th year return to Baltimore?
Oh, we're going to get into
when the
it, don't
Browns
worry.
are in town. Well, I didn't know if
We're
I
gonna get
didn't
into
see it on the topic list, so I just thought I'd bring it up. And you know what that is? That's we're the ones that are always bullied, and so we're an easy target.
Yeah.
So the Ravens, in their grand wisdom, sat around and said, "Oh, let's throw that party when Cleveland's in," and really rub their faces in it. I would hope. I doubt the players aren't playing motivated because they weren't here when that happened.
Yeah.
But it means a little something extra for the fans, if that's possible.
Oh, yeah.
I think Dustin has shown that he is in mid-season form. That was a good analysis of that. You can tell you've been doing games lately.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, you was in mid-season. I'm like, damn, that was good, man. I like that too. All right, I come off thinking about this, and it's crazy because all these games usually come down to 3 or 4 possessions. As much as we get fired up and excited about, you go back and watch last year when Jameis Winston was playing quarterback, right, against these same Baltimore Ravens, and it came down to a couple of plays. It was an interception that Hamilton had in his stomach. He dropped it. came right back the next play. Guess what? Cedric Tillman, I think, scored a touchdown. Yep. The Browns in this football game against the Bengals, it came down to 3 or 4 plays. The drops, the fourth down stuff. So it is much as we know there's a deficiency in talent between the Ravens and the Browns, it's not as marked as no 35 points or nothing crazy. The Browns are going to have an opportunity if they capitalize on the stuff that they can. If they catch the ball and they convert third downs and they're able to stay consistent, they'll be in this football game. Now it comes down to, in the fourth quarter, they got Lamar Jackson. And when you got Lamar Jackson and you got somebody that can make things happen, then that's where they get the advantage. Also, I do think, like Dustin said, they're catching the Ravens in a tough spot. Like, they're catching them after they gave up all them points, all that big comeback on TV. And sometimes for teams like this that have Super Bowl aspirations, you want them to sleepwalk through most of the season, right? You want them to sleepwalk and take people lightly. But when they play a division opponent like the Bills, who also wants to be Super Bowl caliber, they want to be in that contention, they are coming in here with not playing games. Because now they're sitting there saying, if you're a Ravens fan, we seem to can't beat Kansas City. We seem that we can't beat Buffalo now, where we're giving up leads. There is no way, coupled with the fact that the Browns did sneak a game and win one last year, that they're coming in overlooking the Browns and it's at
2
home.
years in a row?
2 years.
Yeah.
They're not overlooking them at all. They're wide awoke Lamar Jackson. They're going to be locked in. In terms of what that means for the Browns, it means there is no margin for error, really. Like, they have to play their best football, be opportunistic, and capitalize. The thing that and the last thing I'll say is, I had an opportunity to see the All-22. I wasn't impressed with the run game. The run game, they're not going to be able to continue drop back with Joe Flacco 40, 50, 60 times, even though I think that's just what they
But he can't last.
It's not
can't last. No.
It's not sustainable. So they have to get better up front. I thought DeJuan Jones did not look good. Ethan Pochich did not look good in the run game at all. They're going to have to get better at that. But, they'll
and
have
they need
the
Judkins bad.
Oh, yeah. They need him clearly a lot. Jerome Ford, I don't know what he was doing in that game. If you see the All-22.
Yeah.
There were some holes, G.
There were spots.
They looked worse later after further examination than they did on Sunday, and they looked really bad live.
Yeah.
But there was nothing that I could find that gave me any room for hope. And I agree with you guys. Like, we had talked, Bull, you said play fake is great, but the quality of the running back doesn't determine the success of the play fake. And some of that I agreed with. But I don't think you were on the panel when that discussion was being had. So I wanted to ask you, as a defensive back that peeks his nose in on those play fakes, does it matter the quality of the running back or the quality of the overall running game? Do you begin to just naturally pay less attention to that play fake because you have every confidence in the world that the front seven's going to gobble that run up?
I think it depends who I am and it depends what kind of player I am. If I'm like a young guy who's a rookie, you could play fake me to death, and I'd bite on every time. Right. If I'm a young player, you know what I mean. But if you're a veteran and and they have situational awareness, you know what I mean,
down distance sticks,
like that like a team like the Browns, or anybody, let's say a team who's got relatively no offense, they're a crappy team. You're not worried about a play. If you don't have a stud running back, like play action works for Baltimore. Because they can run the hell out of the ball. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you gotta respect it. The Browns, I don't know that the Ravens would respect a play action pass.
Yeah, I don't either.
But all you need is that hesitation for that half a second.
True.
But you're more likely to hesitate if it's Derrick Henry in the backfield.
Are you thinking about that consciously when the fake comes? You think it's going to be a run play?
So you are. I'm saying if you're a safety,
like Kyle Hamilton's less likely to bite.
It's a little like a baseball hitter changing his philosophy against different pitchers. You might sit on fastballs if you think you can catch up to that fastball. But if you got a guy like Clase last night was a great example, Smith in the ninth inning, those guys were sitting fastballs. They just couldn't catch them. He was so good, it didn't matter what their game plan was.
Or if you're a batter, right, and you know that a pitcher can't throw a breaking pitch for a strike.
Spit on him.
I'm not paying no attention to that.
Right.
You're not going to respect it.
I'm not
You're
respecting
But in
it.
the end,
Can you
if
call Gabe
they
Arias
still
and
may
let him
run.
know that?
They still may run the ball, and the natural inclination of a human being that's playing secondary is to at least for a half a second to stop or whatever because you see the run
with the
coming.
Ravens,
It also depends, Adam, where your keys are as like a defensive back or a
Right.
safety. Like, where are you looking? I mean, so many guys, like, you're just out there and you're kind of in la-la land. You're looking around. Your eyes are looking here, there.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, maybe some guys are looking at the offensive line. They're actually seeing what they're doing
that
up
makes
front. I mean,
sense.
there's just
Yeah.
a lot of different keys that certain
Right.
players look at.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at it for myself sometimes. Like, when I call a game.
Yeah.
Like, I make sure that my eyes are looking at the whole field as opposed
Right.
to just staring at the ball, because sometimes I get faked out in the booth.
Oh my God!
You know what
I remember doing play-by-play in Division III. We were playing this team. Brockport, my school, was playing a team that ran the
Triple option.
Yeah, and
it's a very-
half the time I didn't know where the hell the ball was.
Right.
You know, I don't have a spotter at Division III,
Right.
so that is crazy. But don't you think that the quality of the fake by the quarterback plays a big role into it as well?
The quality of the fake matters, but you have to still be able to execute the run. Like the Browns, you have to set up the play action by actually running the ball. Even if you don't run the ball successfully, you still have to run the ball.
Right.
You know
And
what I
they kind of went away from the running game in the second half.
Right.
In the
So-
first half, they were balanced. I think there was 50-50 in the first half.
I think
in the
this-
second half, they threw almost every time.
I think this is a key distinction that people have to get to. So so there's two different things. There's play action, and then there's run action. So play action is we are actually coming off the football as if it is an actual run play, right? But when you talk about run action, guys are just pass setting, but it's a fake in the backfield. So if I'm a defensive line and I see run action, but I'm reading the offensive line
Right,
and their
okay.
hats are high,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm not fooled. I'm going to transition my rest because I know it's the difference between you coming off the football and it could actually be a run. So it has to work both ways.
Well, but in that case, G, even if the back's good, then you wouldn't worry about it, right?
Or in this case, you could come in and the game plan could be like this, Dustin. If Jerome Ford want to have 150 yards, clap it up. We'll shake their hands.
Pick your poison,
Whatever. We're not worried about that because we don't even think that they're able to find those lanes like that to gash us. We'll just tackle them, rally to it. But the thing we don't want is Joe Flacco, play action, and getting chunk plays because that is the only way they can beat us. They can't matriculate the ball down the field on us.
Well,
they got to go for shot plays.
I mean, that's kind of what happened with the Browns last week because in that first drive, the first Bengals drive, it was all Chase, not all, but mostly Chase Brown. Mm-hmm. And so the Browns play the Bengals like we don't care about the running game.
Yeah.
That's how they play them. And then in the second half, remember in that first drive and then the third drive where the Bengals scored the 2 touchdowns, they were constantly in third and short. Mm-hmm. But late in the second half, they were in third and long every
Behind the
time.
sticks.
And so they couldn't run, and that's when you get yourself in trouble. And so the Bengals couldn't no longer take advantage of the fact that the Browns were all focused on the passing game, which you got to be against.
That's
the
why it's
Bengals.
important, and you'd mentioned this last week, and I completely agree with this part of it. For play fake to be effective, you have to stay on schedule. If you're third and 3, you have to honor that.
Yes.
If you're third and 9,
No.
good luck.
Right.
You're not
right.
fooling anybody with
The
it.
Yes.
Ravens they're not gonna be like, okay, Cleveland can beat us on the ground.
No.
Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson are not going to beat the Ravens.
Yeah.
They're just not. They're going to be like, okay, fine, go ahead.
Do you think Judkins might play this week? Or you
I have
think
no
it's-
idea, man.
I was hopeful, but missing again
Yeah,
today.
that-
That's really one of his 3 days to get ready. Well, this is a good point I think worth bringing up. It comes from our executive producer, Steve. I hadn't looked ahead at the Ravens' schedule. This is a great point. They cannot
They got a
afford
tough schedule,
to lose this game because they have the Lions, the Chiefs, the Texans, and the Rams after that.
Yeah.
So, much as we're looking ahead to our
Yeah.
next 4, they are too.
I was deciding who to take in my survivor pool, and I picked the Ravens this week because
They're probably the biggest
Yeah.
spread, so it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
safest play.
And I was like, I'm not going to be able to use the Ravens for at least another month anyway. So.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, they do have a tough schedule coming up.
Very difficult.
There's no doubt about it, and
Of course, so do we.